Look at your life. Are you living it or merely surviving it? Every morning you wake up, but do you wake up with direction? Tell me, if your life continues exactly like this for the next 10 years, would you be proud or full of regret? You train your body, you chase money, you scroll endlessly. But have you trained your mind? Because if you don't choose your path consciously, life will choose mediocrity for you. If you stay with me, I promise you this. By the end of this journey, you will no longer live by accident, but by wisdom, discipline, and purpose. And 2026 will not steal your life, it will forge it. 1. Life is short, but distraction makes it shorter. Life does not disappear all at once. It fades quietly, slowly, almost politely. One day blends into the next, and before you realize it, years have passed without depth, without presence, without meaning. You believe you have time. Time to grow, time to decide, time to live fully later. But later is the most dangerous illusion the mind creates. Life is short by nature, yet distraction compresses it even further, squeezing meaning out of existence until only motion remains, not progress. Distraction does not arrive as an enemy. It comes as entertainment, as convenience, as comfort. It tells you that rest is deserved before effort, that pleasure is harmless without purpose, that awareness can wait. You wake up and immediately give your attention away to noise, to opinions, to endless information that asks nothing of you except your time. Attention is life. Where your attention goes, your life follows. Lose control of it, and you lose control of your destiny. Most people believe they waste time in hours. They do not. They waste it in moments of unconsciousness, moments where the body is present but the mind is absent. Eating without tasting, walking without seeing, listening without hearing, living without being alive. This is how life is stolen without force. Not through tragedy, but through neglect. Distraction weakens the spirit because it fractures focus. A fragmented mind cannot build anything meaningful. It jumps from thought to thought, desire to desire, never staying long enough to create depth. And depth is where mastery lives. Depth is where peace lives. A shallow life feels busy yet empty, full yet unsatisfied, loud yet hollow. You were not born to be constantly stimulated. You were born to be conscious. Stillness is not boredom. Stillness is clarity. In stillness, you hear the quiet voice within that tells you who you are becoming. But distraction drowns that voice. And when you no longer hear it, you begin living according to external rhythms instead of inner truth. Look carefully at how you spend your days, not how you plan them, not how you describe them, but how you actually live them. Because your days are your life in miniature. If your day is scattered, your life will be scattered. If your day lacks intention, your life will lack direction. Awareness is the first discipline. Without it, all effort is blind. To reclaim your life, you must reclaim your attention. Guard it fiercely. Choose what enters your mind as carefully as you choose what enters your body. Because every distraction accepted is a moment of life surrendered. And once attention is lost, something deeper begins to erode silently beneath the surface. And when attention weakens, something else must take its place. 2. Discipline is the highest form of self-respect. Discipline is misunderstood. It is not punishment. It is not restriction. It is not the absence of freedom. Discipline is the structure that allows freedom to exist. Without discipline, desire rules, and desire is unstable. It changes with mood, emotion, and comfort. A life led by desire is a life constantly negotiating with weakness. Self-respect is built through kept promises, not to others, but to yourself. Every time you say you will do something and you do not, you fracture trust within. The mind remembers. The body remembers. Over time, this internal distrust grows and confidence collapses. Quietly. Discipline repairs this relationship. It says, I can rely on myself. That is power. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. It is delaying gratification, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. The disciplined person understands time differently. They invest it rather than spend it. They train when they do not feel like it. They remain focused when distractions call. They act not when it is easy, but when it is necessary. The mind resists discipline because discipline exposes excuses. Excuses are comforting stories the ego tells to avoid discomfort. Discipline removes these stories and replaces them with action. It is uncomfortable at first because it demands honesty. It asks you to face who you are versus who you claim to be. True discipline is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not seek validation. It is built in the early hours, in the moments when no one is watching, when the choice is yours alone. This is where character is forged. Not in public victories, but in private consistency. Discipline creates boundaries. Boundaries protect energy. Energy directed with discipline becomes momentum. Momentum creates transformation. Without discipline, potential remains trapped, unused, and eventually forgotten. Many people carry greatness within them that will never see daylight, because discipline was never cultivated. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Discipline builds systems that support you when motivation disappears, and motivation will disappear. Discipline remains. To respect yourself is to act in alignment with your highest values, even when it is uncomfortable, especially when it is uncomfortable. Because comfort does not build strength, resistance does. And as discipline strengthens, it begins shaping something even more powerful within you. Because discipline does not just control the body. 3. Your mind is either a weapon or a prison. The mind is the most powerful tool you possess, yet most people never learn how to use it. Instead, they are used by it. Thoughts arise automatically, emotions follow, actions repeat, and soon patterns form. Without awareness and training, the mind becomes a prison built from unchallenged beliefs and unconscious habits. A trained mind observes before it reacts. An untrained mind reacts before it understands. Reaction is instinctive. Observation is cultivated. When the mind is reactive, it is easily manipulated by fear, anger, comparison, and doubt. When the mind is trained, it becomes calm under pressure, clear in chaos, and steady in uncertainty. The mind can sharpen focus or scatter it. It can generate courage or magnify fear. It can build resilience or reinforce limitation. The difference lies not in intelligence, but in mastery. Mastery begins with awareness. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates freedom. Most suffering is mental before it is physical. The body follows the mind's commands. If the mind is chaotic, the body suffers. If the mind is disciplined, the body aligns. Thoughts repeated become beliefs. Beliefs repeated become identity. Identity repeated becomes destiny. A weapon is useless if left untrained. A mind left untrained turns inward and attacks its own potential. Self-doubt, overthinking, and negative narratives are not truths, they are habits. Habits can be changed, but first they must be seen. Training the mind requires stillness, repetition, and patience. It is not dramatic. It is subtle. It is choosing silence over noise, presence over distraction, truth over comfort. Slowly, the mind learns to obey rather than dominate. And when that happens, clarity replaces confusion. A disciplined mind does not eliminate emotion. It understands it. It does not suppress fear. It observes it. And through observation, fear loses its control. This is inner freedom. Freedom not dependent on circumstances, but rooted in self-mastery. When the mind becomes a weapon, it cuts through illusion, it focuses energy, it executes with precision. When it remains a prison, it confines potential and limits vision. The choice is made daily, in small moments of awareness or neglect. And as the mind begins to sharpen, a deeper realization emerges. Because mastery of the mind demands mastery of something even more fundamental. 4. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. Comfort is subtle. It does not announce itself as danger. It arrives softly, disguised as reward, as rest, as something you have earned. It tells you that you deserve ease before effort, pleasure before discipline, certainty before action. Comfort does not attack ambition directly. It lulls it to sleep. And while you rest, greatness quietly walks past your door. Greatness is never born in comfort. It is shaped in resistance. It is refined through challenge, pressure, and voluntary hardship. Comfort seeks to preserve the current self. Greatness demands the death of the current self. That is why the mind clings to comfort. Growth feels like loss before it feels like gain. When life becomes too comfortable, awareness dulls, hunger disappears, curiosity fades. You stop asking who you could become and begin defending who you are. Comfort creates attachment to routine, identity, and limitation. It convinces you that safety is success, but safety is stagnation wearing a pleasant mask. The body understands this truth instinctively. Muscles grow only when they are stressed beyond familiarity. Without resistance, they weaken. The same law governs the mind and spirit. Without challenge, they soften. A soft mind avoids difficulty. A trained mind seeks it. Comfort encourages delay. Tomorrow becomes the preferred day for action. Tomorrow never arrives. It dissolves into another comfortable today. Years pass this way, quietly, without alarm. And one day you realize you have protected your comfort so well that you have suffocated your potential. Discomfort is not punishment. It is information. It tells you where growth lives. The moment you feel resistance, hesitation, or fear, you have found the edge of your current capacity. That edge is not a warning. It is an invitation. Those who achieve greatness do not eliminate comfort forever. They place it intentionally. They rest after effort, not before it. They use comfort as recovery, not as lifestyle. They understand that comfort must be earned repeatedly, or it becomes entitlement. A comfortable life without challenge feels pleasant at first. Then it becomes restless, then empty. The soul knows when it is underused. That restlessness you feel is not dissatisfaction. It is unused strength asking to be expressed. The question is not whether comfort is bad. The question is who is in control. If comfort decides your actions, your direction is already lost. But if you choose discomfort consciously, comfort becomes a tool, not a trap. And once you step beyond comfort, something deeper begins to demand clarity. 5. Purpose must be chosen, not found. Many wait for purpose as if it is hidden somewhere outside themselves. They search endlessly, hoping one day it will reveal itself, fully formed, without effort. This waiting becomes another form of comfort. It delays responsibility. It postpones commitment. Purpose does not arrive through discovery. It arrives through decision. Purpose is not a feeling, it is a direction. Feelings change. Direction remains. When you choose purpose, you are choosing a set of values that will guide your actions regardless of mood, circumstance, or outcome. Purpose simplifies life. It removes unnecessary choices. It sharpens focus. Those without chosen purpose drift. They react to life instead of shaping it. Opportunities pull them in random directions. Opinions influence them easily. Without purpose, every challenge feels personal, and every setback feels like failure. With purpose, challenges become tests, and setbacks become lessons. Purpose requires sacrifice. Choosing one path means abandoning many others. This is why people hesitate. They want infinite possibility without commitment. But infinite possibility is paralysis. Commitment creates momentum. Purpose does not demand certainty, it demands courage. You do not need to know the entire path. You need to choose a direction and walk. Clarity follows action, not contemplation. Each step reveals the next. When purpose is chosen, suffering changes meaning. Pain becomes bearable because it serves something greater. Effort becomes sustainable because it aligns with values. Even failure loses its sting because it contributes to growth. A chosen purpose anchors identity. Without it, identity shifts with circumstance. With it, you remain stable amid chaos. Purpose becomes an internal compass. It does not guarantee success, it guarantees direction. You do not need a grand vision. You need a true one, something that challenges you, something that demands your best, something worth enduring discomfort for. Purposes are revealed through commitment, not waiting. And when purpose is chosen, the question is no longer whether you will suffer. 6. Suffering with direction is better than comfort without meaning. Suffering is unavoidable. Avoiding it is an illusion. The only choice is whether suffering has meaning or not. Comfort without meaning leads to a quiet form of suffering that corrodes the spirit. Suffering with direction strengthens it. When pain is endured without purpose, it feels heavy. When pain is endured for something meaningful, it becomes light. Direction transforms pain into progress. Without direction, comfort becomes a slow decay. Meaningful suffering sharpens awareness. It focuses energy. It builds resilience. It reminds you that you are alive and engaged in becoming something more. Meaningless comfort dulls awareness. It numbs ambition. It leaves you restless and unfulfilled. Those who choose comfort over meaning often avoid immediate pain, only to encounter deeper regret later. Regret is the heaviest form of suffering because it offers no growth. It only looks backward. Suffering with direction looks forward. It asks what this pain is teaching, what strength it is building, what weakness it is revealing. Direction turns obstacles into instructors. A meaningful life is not an easy life. It is a life aligned with values. When values guide action, suffering becomes part of the path, not a deviation from it. You stop asking why pain exists and begin asking how to use it. Company. M. Ford promises peace but delivers emptiness. Meaning demands effort but delivers fulfillment. Fulfillment is not happiness, it is wholeness. It is knowing that your energy is not wasted. When you accept suffering with direction, fear loses power. You understand that pain is temporary, but meaning endures. This understanding creates inner stability. Life will challenge you regardless. Choose challenges that build you rather than numb you. Choose direction over ease. Choose meaning over comfort. Because when meaning guides suffering, life stops being something you endure and becomes something you shape. 7. Your daily habits are your true beliefs. Every action you take whispers the truth of who you are, not the intentions you announce, not the plans you dream about, but the small repeated choices you make, quietly, consistently define your reality. These are your beliefs in motion. Belief is not what you say you think. Belief is what you allow yourself to do or not do every day. Wake up late, scroll endlessly, eat mindlessly, complain often. These are your beliefs. They reveal a mind trained to drift. They show you what you truly worship: comfort, distraction, inertia. Habits are silent. They do not scream. They do not ask permission. They shape your life while you are not paying attention. One day you wake up and realize that the sum of small daily actions has produced a life you never consciously chose. Habits are destiny in disguise. The power of a habit lies not in its difficulty, but in its repetition. One small positive action, repeated daily, compounds into unstoppable momentum. One small negative action, repeated daily, compounds into silent decay. The body, the mind, the spirit, they all follow the path most frequently traveled. Most people believe change happens in moments of inspiration. Rarely is this true. Transformation comes from repeated practice. Discipline becomes invisible when it is habitual. Motivation fades, but habit remains. Habits create structure without struggle. Your habits reflect your self-respect, your values, your priorities. They answer questions your mouth never dares to ask. What do I believe I deserve? What am I willing to endure daily to become more? If your habits are weak, your beliefs are weak. If your habits are strong, your beliefs are unshakable. Observe your habits, not to judge, not to condemn, but to understand yourself. Awareness allows intervention. Once you see the hidden patterns, you can rewrite them. One deliberate habit at a time. One day, one repetition, one choice at a time. The transformation begins quietly. You may not notice the first week. The first month may seem subtle. But in a year, your habits will have built a version of yourself that aligns perfectly with your chosen life, or one that drifts further into mediocrity. The choice is daily, intimate, and absolute. Habits are not punishment. They are empowerment. They are proof that change is available to anyone who chooses to act consistently, not impulsively. Each day is a microcosm of life. Each small action compounds into identity. And as habits begin to anchor your beliefs, a deeper truth emerges. Discipline is not external. It is cultivated naturally by repeated practice, silently shaping every decision you make. The power of the mind, however, begins to demand movement beyond thought alone. 8. Strength is built in silence. The world glorifies action. Loud victories, instant gratification, public celebration. But the deepest power is forged quietly, in private, far from the eyes of others. Strength grows where no one is watching. Strength is invisible before it becomes undeniable. Silent work teaches patience. It teaches that results are not immediate. Muscles strengthen through tension and rest, not applause. Wisdom grows in solitude, not gossip. Confidence is forged through repetition, not encouragement. The loudest voices rarely carry the deepest power. Power is rooted in endurance, in consistency, in the ability to confront discomfort daily, without recognition or reward. A person who trains silently learns to trust process over outcome. They understand that immediate validation is fleeting, but inner transformation endures. Silence allows reflection. It allows connection with the mind, body, and spirit. In silence, you hear the small whispers of your potential. In silence, you confront resistance. In silence, you learn which challenges are worth enduring. Strength in silence also develops resilience. When challenges come publicly, the body and mind have already been prepared in private. Obstacles are no longer frightening because they have been anticipated in quiet moments of practice and reflection. Those who seek only external recognition are always at risk. Their confidence is conditional. Their courage depends on applause. But the person who builds in silence carries unshakable authority, because their power is independent of others. Silence does not mean inaction. Silence is focus. Silence is discipline. Silence is the laboratory of self-mastery. In the silence of daily effort, the mind is sharpened, the body strengthened, and the spirit fortified. Every victory gained loudly is a shadow of what could have been. Every triumph that begins in silence has a weight, a depth, a permanence. Strength is measured not by what the world sees, but by what survives when observation ends. The silent warrior learns to embrace discomfort without complaint. They practice the art of patience, the skill of consistency, the discipline of presence. They know that life's greatest tests do not arrive with fanfare, but demand quiet endurance and unwavering commitment. And as strength is cultivated in quiet persistence, it becomes a tool, a gateway to mastery over not just the body, but the mind itself, because mastery of the mind requires a foundation even deeper than strength. 9. The body is the gateway to the mind. The body is often ignored in pursuit of intellect. The mind is studied, the thoughts are examined, yet the body is treated as a separate vessel, a passive instrument. This is a mistake. The body is not separate from the mind, it is the gateway. Strengthen the body and the mind follows. Neglect it and the mind falters. Breath, posture, movement, energy. They shape thought more than ideas alone. A weak body produces fatigue, distraction, and mental chaos. A strong body stabilizes attention, sharpens focus, and fosters clarity. The body and mind are inextricably linked. One cannot flourish without the other. Discipline in the body translates to discipline in thought. Training through resistance, repetition, and challenge develops patience, resilience, and presence. Pain E. Experience physically teaches control. Pain endured intentionally becomes comprehension. Each lift, each run, each stretch, each controlled breath impresses upon the mind the lesson of mastery. The body responds immediately to neglect, yet the mind often resists truth. Hunger, fatigue, lethargy, these signals are often ignored, while the mind continues to pretend it is fully in control. But the mind is not independent. Physical weakness distorts perception, dulls awareness, and erodes courage. Movement is meditation. Repetition is revelation. Sweat is proof. Pain is guidance. Discipline in the body is the language the mind understands naturally. When you train the body consciously, you train the mind to endure, to focus, and to persist. Your physical environment, your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, these are not trivial. They are the foundations of every thought, decision, and action. Mental clarity without physical alignment is fragile. Mental power without bodily health is temporary. Through the body you experience limitation and transcendence. You learn the taste of struggle, the depth of endurance, the edge of potential. The body teaches lessons that cannot be learned through thought alone. Pain, fatigue, and resistance become instructors. A disciplined body creates a disciplined mind. The gateway opens only when you honor the vessel that carries your consciousness. Neglect it, and mental clarity slips. Respect it, and mental acuity flourishes. And as the Min D strengthens through the body, a deeper alignment emerges. A harmony between thought, action, and spirit that begins to transform every choice you make. Because mastery is not isolated in one domain. It is integration. Body, mind, and life in unified motion. The next step reveals how emotions, when harnessed correctly, can either destroy or elevate this entire process. 10. Emotions are teachers, not leaders. Emotions arrive uninvited. They rush in with force, demanding attention, commanding decisions, shaping perception. Fear tells you to retreat. Anger tells you to strike. Desire whispers that you need this now. Many believe emotions are signals to act immediately. Most act without question. Most surrender to them. But this is misunderstanding their true role. Emotions are not rulers. They are messengers. They carry information about your internal state, your environment, your priorities. They reveal attachment, desire, fear, and unacknowledged truth. Ignoring them leads to imbalance. Blindly obeying them leads to chaos. Learning their language is the foundation of mastery. The beginner reacts. The experienced observes. Observation creates choice. You feel anger rising, yet instead of reacting, you ask, "What is this trying to show me?" You feel fear, yet you inquire, "What boundary does this reveal? What must I face?" Through this questioning, the mind regains sovereignty over instinct. The body calms. Awareness sharpens. Emotions are intense because they are necessary. They push you to act, to defend, to survive. Yet unchecked, they lead to distraction and suffering. Anger becomes destructive. Fear becomes paralyzing. Desire becomes enslavement. When observed, they teach lessons that intellect alone cannot. Understanding emotions requires patience. One cannot hurry insight, feel deeply without identification, name the wave without riding it, let it rise, peak, and subside. In its natural course, insight appears. The wave of emotion then becomes a guide, not a dictator. Those who surrender to emotion live a life dictated by sensation, reacting to circumstance, to people, to fleeting impulses. They are tossed like leaves on the wind, believing their life is out of control, when in truth the lack of observation is the source of their suffering. Mastery begins with stillness. Stillness allows emotions to surface, be acknowledged, and then released without distortion. Fear becomes information. Anger becomes energy. Desire becomes focus. Pain becomes clarity. Pleasure becomes a tool, not a trap. When emotions are understood as teachers, every moment of discomfort becomes a lesson. Every surge of intensity becomes an opportunity. Life itself becomes the classroom, and every experience carries a curriculum for growth. Yet even when emotions are understood, another obstacle awaits. One more subtle, one more persistent, that keeps most people from true progress. 11. Most people fear pain, not failure. Pain is inevitable. Pain is a companion. Yet most people do not fear failure. They fear the discomfort that accompanies it, the exposure, the uncertainty, the struggle. The irony is that failure is often harmless in itself. It is what you endure to reach success that determines your evolution. Avoiding pain creates weakness. Weakness manifests as hesitation, procrastination, distraction, and self-doubt. The desire to escape discomfort shapes choices far more than logic or intention. Many remain small not because they lack ability, but because they are unwilling to endure temporary suffering. Pain is honest. It communicates clearly. It points to limits that must be transcended. The body signals fatigue. The mind signals resistance. The spirit signals reluctance. Those who respond with avoidance shrink. Those who respond with courage expand. Pain, when confronted, becomes an instrument of transformation. Failure, on the other hand, is neutral. It is a marker, a feedback point. Most people react to failure emotionally, interpreting it as personal inadequacy. But failure is simply the result of action in pursuit of something greater. It is the natural byproduct of growth. Those who understand this do not fear it. They fear the avoidance of effort more than the experience of loss. Enduring pain with purpose trains resilience. Every moment of intentional discomfort strengthens the mind, the body, and the spirit. Pain becomes a teacher, guiding you to new levels of capacity. Weakness is exposed, then corrected. Comfort is revealed as limitation. Pain is the gatekeeper to mastery. Those unwilling to pass through it remain trapped in mediocrity. Those who embrace it with direction discover strength they did not know existed. The temporary suffering of effort builds permanent fortitude. Most people chase success while avoiding discomfort, expecting results without sacrifice. This is illusion. Effort without pain yields little transformation. Sacrifice without purpose yields empty struggle. But when pain is accepted as part of the path and failure as a lesson, life begins to unfold according to your will rather than circumstance. And as resilience grows through disciplined confrontation with pain, a principle emerges, a principle so simple yet so neglected that it separates those who act from those who dream. 12. Clarity comes from action, not thinking. The mind loves to think. It believes reflection alone is enough. It rehearses, plans, imagines, debates. Endless cycles of thinking create the illusion of preparation, yet preparation without action is stagnation. Clarity is not born in contemplation. It is born in movement. Action illuminates the unknown. It exposes gaps in understanding. It reveals strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and dangers. Waiting for perfect clarity before acting is procrastination disguised as wisdom. Perfect clarity never arrives. Only imperfect action produces insight. Thinking without doing is an echo chamber. Ideas grow in isolation, disconnected from reality. Action grounds thought in truth. It tests theory. It challenges assumption. It confronts fear. It teaches lessons that contemplation alone cannot. The moment you act, uncertainty becomes measurable. Mistakes become data. Feedback becomes guidance. Progress is no longer hypothetical. The mind, previously clouded by endless speculation, sharpens. Awareness expands. Choices become informed. Direction emerges. Fear often masquerades as caution, convincing you that thinking longer will yield better results. But action is the crucible that tempers clarity. Without it, knowledge is sterile. Wisdom is theoretical. Potential remains dormant. Even small steps matter. Imperfect, hesitant movement is better than perfect inaction. Momentum builds understanding. Decisions, once deferred, crystallize through doing. Confidence grows not from imagining success, but from confronting challenge. Action also cultivates courage. Each step forward taken despite doubt strengthens resolve. The mind learns that obstacles are not threats, but opportunities for mastery. Risk becomes a teacher. Uncertainty becomes a guide. Those who wait for clarity forever wander in indecision. Those who act imperfectly but consistently discover insight in the friction of experience. Life rewards the brave, not the contemplative. It responds to movement, not hesitation. Clarity is the light that follows motion, not precedes it. The path is revealed under the weight of the first step, not in the comfort of planning. Action transforms thought into understanding, desire into reality, vision into existence. And once clarity emerges through action, the mind begins to ask a deeper question, one that challenges even the most disciplined, aware, and courageous among us, a question that leads to the next dimension of mastery. 13. A weak morning creates a weak life. How you begin your day is more than routine. It is a declaration. Each morning is a microcosm of your life. The choices you make before the sun rises define the trajectory of your hours, your decisions, and ultimately, the shape of your character. A weak morning, surrendered to distraction, lethargy, or indecision, becomes the seed of a weak life. The first moments of consciousness are fertile ground. The mind is malleable, the body is alert, energy is raw. How you direct this power will ripple throughout your day. Yet most people squander it. They reach for the phone, they linger in comfort, they react instead of create. Each small act of passivity sets the tone for mediocrity. Strength is cultivated when mornings are intentional. Rising early is not merely a matter of discipline, it is a declaration of control. It says, I will govern myself, not circumstances. I will choose purpose, not convenience. The early hours are sacred. In the quiet, the mind is uncluttered, the body is unencumbered, the soul is present. A structured morning creates a rhythm. Silence sharpens thought. Movement invigorates the body. Breath centers the mind. Reflection aligns intention. Each element compounds into a force that carries you through challenges, distractions, and temptations with focus and resilience. Weak mornings invite weakness into the day. Decisions become reactive. Energy is scattered. Fear, doubt, and distraction gain influence. Success, effort, and clarity struggle to manifest when the foundation has been surrendered to inertia. The morning is a test of sovereignty over self. Every time you rise with intention, you train the mind to prioritize what matters. Every time you postpone, linger, or indulge comfort, you surrender authority to circumstance. The day mirrors the morning, the week mirrors the day, life mirrors the repetition of mornings chosen or wasted. Mastery begins before sunrise. It begins when the body rises while the mind is still quiet. It begins when the first action is deliberate, conscious, and meaningful. It begins in silence, in movement, in presence. And as you learn to command the morning, the environment around you begins to demand attention. Because external chaos always tests internal order. 14. Your environment shapes your destiny. Every person you meet, every space you occupy, every sound, image, and thought you absorb influences the trajectory of your life. The mind is not invincible. Energy is not infinite. Left unchecked, the environment seeps into your habits, your emotions, your decisions. It shapes the unseen architecture of your identity. Toxic relationships, chaotic spaces, mindless consumption. These are subtle forms of poison. They drain attention, diminish energy, and erode discipline. They normalize mediocrity. They convince you that the impossible is unattainable, that effort is futile, that comfort is adequate. Conversely, deliberate environments cultivate excellence. A space that promotes focus, order, and reflection amplifies clarity. Surrounding yourself with individuals who challenge, inspire, and elevate you accelerates growth. Exposure to knowledge, beauty, and disciplined energy teaches without preaching. Environment is instruction in its purest form. Most people underestimate the power of what they allow near their mind. A room cluttered with distractions breeds a mind cluttered with indecision. A digital feed full of triviality trains a mind accustomed to noise and instant gratification. A circle that tolerates weakness or excuses conditions you to accept less than your potential. To shape destiny, you must curate the spaces you inhabit. Protect attention. Guard energy. Prioritize exposure to ideas, people, and places that align with the life you intend to lead. Awareness alone is insufficient. The external must reflect the internal, and the internal must reflect the external. Changing enviro. Inment is not superficial. It is structural. It reinforces discipline, supports habits, strengthens the mind, and accelerates the evolution of character. The unseen currents of influence are stronger than willpower alone. No amount of effort can fully compensate for repeated exposure to the wrong energy. Those who succeed consciously shape their environment. Those who fail unconsciously inherit it. The distinction is subtle but decisive. Every item you keep, every conversation you tolerate, every moment of passive consumption is either a brick in the foundation of greatness or a chain holding you to mediocrity. And as your environment begins to reflect intention and strength, another truth becomes undeniable. The price of mastery is often isolation. A walk through solitude few are willing to endure. 15. Loneliness is the price of self-mastery. The path to mastery is solitary. Others may cheer, observe, or advise, but few will walk the difficult terrain of discipline, awareness, and transformation with you. Loneliness is not punishment. It is preparation. It is purification. It is the crucible through which character, courage, and clarity emerge. Solitude forces confrontation with yourself. No distractions, no comforting voices, no excuses. Just you, your habits, your choices, your mind, and the quiet reflection of your spirit. In this space, illusions fall away. Weaknesses are exposed. Strengths are revealed. The mind learns endurance. The body learns patience. The soul RNS presence. Most people flee loneliness. They chase companionship, approval, distraction, entertainment. They fear facing the raw truth. within. But those unwilling to endure the quiet never encounter their full potential. Without solitude, discipline wavers, clarity falters, and depth is never realized. Loneliness teaches self-reliance. It strengthens focus. It aligns values with action. It clarifies priorities. When no one is watching, decisions are revealed as either courage or compromise. Only in solitude is the integrity of intention tested without compromise. Painful as it may be, loneliness is also liberating. Freed from the expectations of others, you make choices based on truth, not convenience. Freed from noise, the mind sharpens. Freed from distraction, the spirit expands. What emerges is not isolation, it is mastery. Self-mastery cannot be borrowed. It cannot be taught fully. It must be claimed in the quiet, in the moments when you walk alone. Resist the easy, endure the uncomfortable, and embrace the unknown. Few will understand the necessity of this path, and fewer will join willingly. That is the nature of transformation. Those who endure loneliness gain what the many cannot: clarity, resilience, independence, and a life shaped entirely by deliberate action rather than external approval. The price is temporary discomfort. The reward is permanent freedom. And when mastery is forged in solitude, the mind begins to see how wisdom must be applied. Because understanding is incomplete without action that aligns with purpose and principle. 16. Wisdom is applied knowledge under pressure. Knowledge is plentiful. It flows endlessly through books, speeches, media, and observation. The mind can store it, organize it, debate it, admire it. Knowledge excites. It feels powerful. It inflates the ego. But knowledge alone is fragile. It is merely potential. Without application, it is like a river that never reaches the sea, full of energy yet going nowhere. Wisdom is different. Wisdom emerges when knowledge is tested under pressure. It is not what you know in comfort. It is what you can act upon when fear rises, when the stakes are high, when the mind trembles and the body resists. Applied knowledge under pressure is what transforms insight into reality. It is the bridge between thought and transformation. Pressure is inevitable. Life imposes it in subtle forms: delays, discomfort, conflict, exhaustion, and in catastrophic forms: loss, betrayal, failure, defeat. The unprepared mind crumbles. The learned mind may hesitate. The wise mind navigates, adapts, and executes. Wisdom is forged not when things are easy, but when everything seems to demand surrender. Many confuse experience with wisdom. Experience is the collection of events. Wisdom is the distillation of these events into actionable understanding. Experience can be passive. Wisdom requires active engagement. A person may live decades, see countless situations, and yet remain unenlightened if the knowledge gained is not applied under pressure. The test is in the moment when instinct, fear, desire, and distraction all collide, and a choice must be made that aligns with deeper understanding rather than temporary comfort. Applied knowledge is courage in motion. It is decision in uncertainty. It is clarity in chaos. When knowledge is applied under pressure, it becomes unshakable. It becomes principle. It becomes power. Without action, knowledge remains theoretical, admired by the mind but unproven by life. Wisdom, by contrast, has weight. It leaves a trace. It shapes outcomes, molds character, and commands respect, not from others, but from oneself. The process of transforming knowledge into wisdom requires patience, observation, and discipline. Pressure is the crucible. Stress, failure, fear, temptation, all are ingredients. The mind resists because pressure is uncomfortable. The body resists because it fears effort. The soul resists because the ego prefers safety. Yet resistance is the signal that the moment is ripe for transformation. A person of knowledge may hesitate in crisis. A person of wisdom acts. They act because they have distilled principles from experience, internalized lessons from observation, and tested their understanding in the laboratory of discomfort. Action, guided by principle under pressure, separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Wisdom also demands humility. It acknowledges what is unknown. It learns from mistakes. It adjusts. Right may feel satisfying in calm waters, but under pressure it becomes the anchor that drags the mind into error. Humility allows knowledge to flow, to adapt, to be applied effectively when circumstances are harsh, unpredictable, and demanding. Observation is essential. Pressure exposes illusions. It reveals what is truly within. Only under pressure does the mind see its limitations. Only under pressure does character reveal itself. Knowledge must be practiced in these conditions repeatedly. Patterns emerge, strategy crystallizes. The ability to discern what matters, what can be delayed, what must be acted upon immediately becomes second nature. Applied knowledge also requires courage to act against the crowd, against expectation, against internal doubt. Pressure magnifies fear. Without prior integration of knowledge into practical understanding, fear overwhelms. The moment of decision is lost. Opportunity slips silently away. Wisdom is the habit of seeing through fear, interpreting it, and moving with aligned action despite its intensity. There is also an ethical dimension. Knowledge applied under pressure shapes not only personal outcomes, but the environment around you. A wise person recognizes the impact of their actions. They consider timing, context, consequence, and integrity. Knowledge used recklessly under pressure is destructive. Wisdom balances efficacy with principle. It is not just about winning, surviving, or achieving. It is about sustaining the alignment of thought, action, and consequence. Those who pursue wisdom deliberately seek experiences that test them. They place themselves under controlled pressure to refine their capacity to act with discernment. This may take the form of rigorous physical discipline, complex problem-solving, confrontation of fear, or ethical dilemmas. They do not wait for crisis to teach them lessons through suffering alone. They learn to create the conditions where knowledge can be applied, tested, and internalized before catastrophe demands it. The paradox of wisdom is that it grows most when the mind is uncomfortable. Ease breeds complacency. Comfort conceals ignorance. Pressure illuminates the gaps in understanding and compels adaptation. Applied knowledge under these conditions strengthens judgment, hones perception, and clarifies priorities. Pressure also reveals the limits of theory. Plans are tested. Logic is confronted by unpredictability. Control is challenged. Only through execution in the real world does understanding become durable. The person who adapts, learns, and applies what is necessary without being bound by ego, fear, or comfort embodies wisdom. Wisdom is cumulative. It compounds over time through repeated engagement with life's challenges. Each trial under pressure distills insight. Each failure tested with integrity strengthens the mind. Each success, tempered by reflection, ensures the next challenge is approached with greater clarity. Knowledge accumulates in the mind. Wisdom accumulates in the soul. Yet the cultivation of wisdom is not a linear journey. Pressure does not arrive in neat, predictable patterns. It appears as sudden crises, as subtle resistance, as moral dilemmas, as physical fatigue, as social tension. The mind must learn to recognize the moment of application, to discern the principles that will guide action, and to execute with calm decisiveness. Applied knowledge is also about timing. Knowledge alone cannot dictate the pace of action. Wisdom senses when to act, when to wait, and when to conserve energy. It integrates observation, principle, and foresight. The person who understands this flows with life's pressures rather than being crushed by them. Importantly, wisdom transforms fear into guidance. The pressure that overwhelms the untrained mind is an instructor to the wise. Each challenge signals what has been mastered and what remains untested. Emotional turbulence becomes data, not dictator. Pain becomes insight, not punishment. Uncertainty becomes opportunity, not paralysis. Life under pressure is an arena. Knowledge untested is decoration. Wisdom is the tool, forged in fire, that shapes reality. Those who fail to act with applied knowledge under pressure may survive, but they rarely evolve. Those who embrace pressure intentionally develop intuition, resilience, judgment, and foresight that no book, lecture, or observation alone can provide. Wisdom is also contagious. It influences decisions of others, inspires action, and stabilizes the environment under chaos. Applied knowledge under pressure radiates authority, not through coercion, but through demonstrated mastery. Others may follow instinctively because they recognize competence manifested in crisis. The pursuit of wisdom requires constant self-evaluation. Every choice made under pressure must be analyzed afterward. Successes are refined, errors are corrected, principles are clarified. Knowledge not integrated into action remains inert. Wisdom integrates theory, observation, practice, and reflection continuously. True wisdom demands endurance. It requires the patience to learn from repetitive stress, the courage to act when stakes are high, and the discipline to persist when clarity is partial and consequences are uncertain. This is the work of a lifetime, not a moment. Applied knowledge under pressure becomes instinctive. Decisions no longer rely solely on deliberation. The mind, trained by experience and reflection, responds with precision and alignment. Action flows naturally from understanding. This is the difference between intelligence and mastery. Pressure is also a mirror. It exposes vanity, laziness, indecision, and hidden fear. Knowledge left untested becomes pride. Wisdom requires humility, the recognition that no matter how much is known, application under challenge may reveal gaps, errors, or misjudgments. The wise embrace these revelations as opportunities for growth, not threats to identity. Finally, wisdom is not an end point, but a process. Life continuously increases the stakes. Knowledge must continuously be applied under new, unexpected pressures. Mastery is maintained by persistent engagement with challenge, observation, reflection, and adjustment. And as wisdom grows through the disciplined application of knowledge under pressure, the mind begins to recognize the ultimate truth: that life's most profound lessons are never theoretical, never comfortable, and never delivered without risk, because the next level of mastery demands confronting death, impermanence, and the urgency of living fully. 17. Death gives life its urgency. Death is the one certainty in life. It arrives uninvited, silent, and impartial. It does not negotiate. It does not warn. It does not care about plans, excuses, or accomplishments. Yet most live as though it will never come. They postpone effort, delay purpose, chase trivialities, and assume endless tomorrows. This is the illusion, the belief that time is infinite. Understanding death is not morbidity. It is clarity. It is the ultimate teacher. The awareness of mortality sharpens perception, heightens focus, and illuminates priorities. Every breath becomes sacred. Every choice becomes consequential. Every moment, once fleeting, now pulses with potential. Life without the recognition of death is stagnant. It is a slow drift into comfort, distraction, and mediocrity. People busy themselves with endless tasks that matter little, ignoring the small, meaningful opportunities that truly shape a life. Without the lens of mortality, action is diluted. Purpose is muted. Decisions are postponed. When death is seen clearly, urgency emerges naturally. Urgency is not panic. It is not frantic activity. It is concentrated energy. It is the alignment of mind, body, and spirit toward what truly matters. It is discipline in motion, focused effort, and deliberate action. The clock of mortality does not intimidate. It clarifies. Death also strips away pretense. Social expectation, fear of judgment, and trivial anxieties lose power. When you remember that your days are finite, the small conflicts, petty distractions, and meaningless approval-seeking lose relevance. Life becomes sharper, cleaner, more authentic. Only what truly matters survives attention. This awareness transforms fear itself. Fear of risk, fear of failure, fear of judgment, all pale in comparison to the certainty of death. When the end is inevitable, hesitation becomes a luxury you cannot afford. Action becomes essential. Courage is no longer optional. Every day becomes an opportunity for mastery. Every relationship, every endeavor, every thought must be considered through the lens of impermanence. Life cannot be reclaimed once wasted. Every wasted hour, postponed conversation, unpursued purpose becomes a silent regret, waiting to be discovered too late. Death teaches urgency but also discipline. It demands presence. It does not reward distraction. It does not honor delay. Life is measured not in years alone, but in awareness, action, and alignment. The brevity of existence forces the mind to sharpen, the body to act, the spirit to focus. Yet urgency without wisdom can be reckless. Understanding mortality must be paired with insight. Action must be guided by purpose, discipline, and principle. Otherwise, the fire of urgency consumes rather than creates. Knowledge of death must be applied thoughtfully, transforming fear into fuel, not chaos. Those who truly integrate this awareness live differently. They do not merely survive. They create, they build, they contribute. They act while others hesitate. They speak while others remain silent. They move while others are paralyzed. Death gives life its edge, its focus, its sharpness, and its clarity. The passage of time becomes visible in every act. Even a single breath carries weight. Every choice is magnified. The horizon of potential expands when the mind no longer pretends that tomorrow is guaranteed. Life's fragility becomes its power, its catalyst, and its teacher. This clarity brings gratitude. It magnifies beauty. It illuminates connections. Every encounter, every sunrise, every gesture carries significance. Mortality does not instill despair. It instills purpose, intensity, and awareness that transforms existence from passive drifting into active shaping. Death also reveals priorities. What is worth fearlessly pursuing? What is worth protecting? What is worth sacrificing? Life compresses into a lens where only the essentials survive scrutiny. It forces honesty with oneself, demanding recognition of hidden truths, suppressed desires, and unfulfilled responsibilities. Even the body carries the reminder. Physicality fades, energy declines, strength diminishes. These signals are not punishments, they are teachers. They insist that movement, growth, and effort occur now, before opportunity slips silently away. Delay is the enemy of life fully lived. Death also demands courage in its rawest form. To act in alignment with purpose while knowing the clock is finite requires a clarity that few cultivate. It requires decisiveness, self-discipline, and presence. It demands embracing discomfort, risking failure, and committing fully. Life without fearlessness becomes a shadow of potential. Yet death is not merely personal. Its awareness shapes how you interact with others. Relationships gain depth, words become meaningful, connection becomes intentional. Time shared is no longer wasted in superficiality, distraction, or avoidance. Presence becomes the gift, not obligation. The awareness of mortality transforms failure itself. The fear of failure is reduced when measured against the inevitability of death. Setbacks, losses, and mistakes are contextualized. They are experiences, not life-ending catastrophes. The finite nature of life aims the stakes, focusing energy on growth rather than avoidance. Mortality sharpens decision-making. It compresses hesitation. It magnifies clarity. It forces alignment of thought, emotion, and action. Becomes deliberate. It becomes precise. It becomes a laboratory for mastery. Every choice, moment, and effort is tested against the reality that time is not endless. Those who ignore death remain distracted, comfortable, and reactive. Those who embrace it act intentionally, seize opportunity, and cultivate presence. Death becomes a teacher, urgency becomes its lesson, and life transforms from a passive drift into an active creation. And as urgency crystallizes, one begins to see the next truth, that intentionality in action must be paired with preparation, mastery, and the shaping of habits, routines, and environment, or even urgency alone will be wasted. January 18th, 2026 is not a new year. It is a new standard. 2026 is not merely a date on a calendar. It is not a chance to reset trivial routines, make fleeting resolutions, or promise vague improvements that vanish by March. 2026 is a threshold, a boundary between who you have been and who you are capable of becoming. It is not a year, it is a standard of intentionality, discipline, clarity, and relentless pursuit of purpose. Too often, the turning of a calendar is treated as a cosmetic change. People believe that a new year automatically brings transformation. They continue the same habits, entertain the same distractions, tolerate the same comfort, and expect different outcomes. This is illusion. Transformation does not follow time. It follows action, rigor, and applied wisdom. The difference between years that pass unnoticed and years that define a life is the standard to which you hold yourself. 2026 can be ordinary if you treat it like any other year, or it can become a crucible of growth if you raise your internal expectations. A new year is not new because the date changed. It is new because you demand more from yourself. You refuse to accept mediocrity, distraction, or delay. You insist on mastery. This is the essence of standards. Standards are not arbitrary. They are the measure by which your decisions, habits, and actions are evaluated. They determine what you tolerate in yourself and others. They shape your environment, your relationships, your routines, and ultimately, your identity. 2026 presents an opportunity to redefine these measures, to set a higher bar, to create conditions where excellence is inevitable and compromise is unacceptable. To set a new standard requires courage. It demands honesty. It forces confrontation with the ways you have allowed yourself to drift in previous years: wasted attention, weak habits, avoidance of discomfort, fear of failure. The bar cannot be set lightly. It is not symbolic, it is structural. It reshapes daily choices, your approach to challenge, and the way you invest energy and attention. 2026 asks you to integrate all the lessons you have encountered so far: attention over distraction, discipline over indulgence, mastery over reaction, purpose over passivity, action over endless planning. It demands that your knowledge, experience, and reflection converge into deliberate action. To fail to apply these lessons is to remain enslaved to the patterns of the past, no matter how many resolutions you make. Every day of 2026 is a test of the standard you set. Will your mornings be weak, or will they declare sovereignty over your day? Will your habits align with your highest values, or will comfort dictate your choices? Will your environment support excellence, or will you tolerate mediocrity around you? Will you face the necessary pain, endure meaningful struggle, and embrace the challenges that shape strength, clarity, and purpose? The new standard is non-negotiable. It does not bend to excuses, laziness, or distraction. It does not adjust for comfort or fear. It is exacting, precise, and demanding. It measures not intention, but execution. It observes consistency, courage, and clarity. It is relentless because life itself is relentless. Time will not pause, deadlines will not wait, and opportunity does not linger for the unprepared. Raising your standard is also about integrity with yourself. Every decision, every effort, every moment must be examined against this internal benchmark. Integrity does not permit compromise when it comes to alignment with your highest vision. Mediocrity disguised as pragmatism is no longer acceptable. Delay disguised as planning is no longer acceptable. Comfort disguised as rest is no longer acceptable. Setting a new standard also reshapes your perception of challenges. Obstacles, fear, fatigue, and resistance are no longer deterrents. They are proof that the standard is being tested. The higher the bar, the more visible the gaps in strength, discipline, and clarity become. This is not discouragement. It is instruction. Pressure becomes feedback. Difficulty becomes insight. Discomfort becomes teacher. The standard of 2026 is also integrative. It does not merely demand excellence in one domain. It demands alignment across the mind, body, and spirit. Physical discipline supports mental clarity. Mental mastery enables focused action. Spiritual alignment directs purpose. All three must operate cohesively to achieve the level of execution the new standard requires. Attention is sharpened. Every distraction is evaluated. Does this support the standard or undermine it? Habits are scrutinized. Does this routine elevate me toward mastery, or does it reinforce complacency? Relationships are measured. Does this connection expand consciousness, accountability, and integrity, or does it reinforce limitation? Environment is curated. Does it support discipline, focus, and presence, or does it allow mediocrity to thrive? The standard demands measurement. Progress cannot be assumed, it must be observed. Daily reflection, assessment of effort, evaluation of choices, and adaptation are essential. Each day becomes a microcosm of the standard, a chance to reinforce alignment, identify deviation, and recalibrate intention. 2026 is not a promise. It is a challenge. It is not a gift. It is a mirror. It will reveal the truth of preparation, the depth of discipline, the clarity of purpose, and the courage to act. It does not tolerate pretense. It does not reward laziness. It does not forgive distraction. But within this rigor lies opportunity of unparalleled magnitude. The standard transforms ordinary life into deliberate life. It magnifies potential. It converts struggle into growth, failure into insight, and effort into mastery. By holding oneself to this level, every action, every choice, and every thought carries weight and consequence. Life becomes intentional, not accidental. The standard also cultivates resilience. It prepares for the unexpected. It builds consistency. It trains endurance. It demands preparation for the pressures, setbacks, and uncertainties that inevitably arise. 2026, approached as a standard rather than a mere calendar year, trains you to meet life with precision, clarity, and aligned action. Those who fail to recognize the year as a standard risks stagnation. They will drift, distracted by novelty, seduced by comfort, and misled by illusion. The passing of days will be silent theft, unnoticed until regret surfaces. Those who rise to the standard will experience accelerated evolution, enhanced perception, and the capacity to act decisively when opportunity demands. The standard is also cumulative. It compounds over days, weeks, months. Small choices aligned with it produce massive results. Weaknesses exposed become targets for correction. Strengths amplified. Momentum grows quietly but inexorably. By the end of 2026, the person aligned with the standard will be fundamentally different, not merely in action, but in character, perception, and presence. Finally, the standard redefines the relationship with time. Time is no longer abundant, it is precious. Every hour, every moment, every breath is measured against what it contributes to the standard. Idle hours become intolerable. Passive engagement becomes obsolete. Focus, energy, and effort are concentrated on actions that elevate, improve, and expand mastery. The year is a mirror, a test, and a crucible. The standard is relentless, demanding, exacting, and transformative. Those who embrace it will emerge with clarity, strength, and presence far beyond what they believed possible. Those who ignore it will drift into another cycle of unremarkable repetition. 2026 is not a page in a calendar. It is not a symbolic fresh start. It is a threshold, a bar, a measure. It is the declaration that the life you have tolerated until now is no longer sufficient. It is a challenge to rise, to act, to align, to elevate. And as this standard is claimed, you begin to see the ultimate truth, that life is not measured by the passing of years, but by the intentionality, discipline, courage, and mastery with which each moment is lived. The next stage is to apply this realization with precision, transforming insight into unshakable action that shapes destiny itself